Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Archive here, guys. Today you've got your MC and host. You've got Timbo Slice here. You got Timmy B, Tim Bonanno. I'm right here. You can see I'm coming live, not this time from Nashville, but I'm actually here in beautiful, sunny, wonderful, the west coast of California. Loving it and getting some great family time in, having some wonderful time, enjoying everything California has to offer. We have a new episode coming at you today as we're wrapping up our series with a Forged Reality from 2018, moving into 2019 with our podcast. We're wrapping up that series, going into new territory, covering new topics, and hopefully exploring new avenues, new ventures, exploring business out here in California. I'm doing that as well, but we're going to get into some of the meat and potatoes of why I'm here today. We're going to have an intimate one-on-one here. But first off, I got to give a big shout out to my boy Ryan out here on the West Coast. He has been so gracious enough to allow me. He's taking a wonderful motorcycle ride right now while I record this podcast. He's enjoying the beautiful sunset as he's driving next to the ocean. And it's just beautiful, beautiful, guys. And I am so grateful for him. I got to give him props. He's opened his home to me. Such a good friend. And for those of you who are listening on audio who are unable to see this setup, that's totally cool. But just know that describing it there, that it's a real pleasure and a treat and an honor to be a guest in his home. But wherever you're listening, whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're checking us out on Spotify, Google Play, or checking us out on Apple, iTunes, wherever you're hearing this right now, I just want to thank you for giving us the time to get a little bit of your ear here. Wherever you are, thank you for listening with us today. This, as you can see, it's just me. I suppose for those of you listening, you can't see, but it's just me here actually today. The boys, again, out in Nashville. Here I am in California. And while we're charting into unknown new territories as we're trying to forge our reality, forge our dreams. We're leaving that in the past, right? But as we're going forward, we want to not only address exciting, wonderful things, we do want to talk about some serious topics as well, and that's kind of why we're doing an intimate one-on-one here. I want to be able to have a great time, you and me. Let's have a great time today, and let's talk about a little bit of slice of real life. We want to do the best we can here at Archeons to be as real and as one-on-one, as transparent and honest as to the best of our ability that we can be. We're not going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes, and everybody does, you and me, but we're just humans, and that's part of what we're going to talk about. We're going to cover things from perspective to expectations in life in general, also to just the human nature of you and I. So buckle your seatbelts if you're driving, turn the volume up, grab your popcorn, and run to the couch if you're at home or whatever you're doing. I hope you're having fun. We're about to dive into some serious topics. So besides, exploring a little bit of business out here on the West Coast, I'm here with family, and I'm doing that because I'm taking a mental health break. I don't think there's any shame in saying that sometimes life is just hard, man. Sometimes it's just hard, and it is going to beat you down. It's going to hurt, and you're going to cry, and you're just going to say, oh my goodness, I have to be the only person in the world feeling this right now. And you're going to say, I can't believe what's happening to me, and how can all of this be happening? We've all been there. Hard, tough. And if you're going through that right now, I just want to tell you that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Whatever you're going through. And you know what? With being honest and transparent as much as we can, most of my family already knows this, so I suppose it isn't going to be as much of a shock to the people who matter most in my life. But being a musician, I'm just going to warn you up front, especially with it being legalized in California, we do enjoy cannabis here at Archeons. And today I have enjoyed some. I am going to be honest with you. This is like the 5th time I've tried to record this podcast today. I was too nervous and scared with the expectations I was putting on myself. I was putting it up in my mind as this crazy thing that how am I going to handle a podcast all by myself? You know, Trey and the boys and Chris and we got young Cody. He's not running the computer for me. You know, we got Huff. Huff always brings up some great things to talk about, and Beastin always has funny things to say. K Nasty always busting my gut over here laughing, and T Swain always saying all these wonderful conversations. How am I gonna keep up with all that? How am I gonna fill up an hour's worth of content talking just myself to you, friend, right now? But back to what I was saying there. A little bit of cannabis. You guys in California, oh my goodness, it's kind of ironic because I'm born and raised here in California, and I actually for the longest time, was not a fan of cannabis. I told myself I was never going to try it. I was never going to do it. All these negative stigmas that I was putting around it, all these perspectives that I had on cannabis. After enjoying it in Nashville, it's so ironic that I would have that perspective while living in California while it was illegal, and then I would move to another state where it's still illegal, and then it becomes legalized in California after I leave, and it's so funny because it's ironic. And now that I'm here back in my home, in my stomping grounds, spend some time with some of my close friends. Gonna take a sip of some water here. Jeopardy theme humming while I'm drinking water. But enjoying some time here. I have made my way over to Kind Peoples, and goodness, I mean, I had this conversation with some friends back in Tennessee, talking to them about the difference now that I've experienced, as some people would say, California Kush. The way that I think about it is the difference between Tennessee quality cannabis and California quality cannabis, from my perspective anyways. We're having a little, again, honest, transparent, heart-to-heart here that I would hope would be a little bit funny, but we're going to get into some serious topics. I just wanted to get this lighthearted bit off of my chest first, because let's start it off on something maybe hopefully most of us can laugh with an experience here, or maybe as we are going to talk about perspectives and paradigms and all those things today, maybe if someone has a perspective that they are still not a cannabis fan, maybe this will give you some perspective from someone who changed their perspective. But the way that I was thinking about Tennessee cannabis is it's almost as if you go to like the best underground show. The best underground show that you could see at maybe like the Exit End or like the End or one of those venues. It's not quite like a Bridgestone, but a smaller like nightclub. And you see the best show. Maybe it's Polyphia. Maybe it ends up being the Contortionist or Era or Wage War, whoever your fan, your big quote unquote underground band that you're following is right now. Maybe it's Silent Planet. A huge shout out to them. I think they're great. So that being said, it's like Tennessee cannabis is like this amazing experience that you have at a small underground show. And it's like, wow, that was so good. The whole crowd was wild, all crowd of like 100 people. Now that I've had cannabis in California, it's like, imagine going to a Metallica show where it's a big arena, and in that big arena, they've got helicopters flying overhead and they've got fireworks going up. It's like, so they're both a really great time, don't get me wrong, but one of those, the production value is way higher. So I, quote unquote, higher. So I am going to say I'm enjoying California. I am enjoying Kind Peoples. And of course, an Archeon spirit. You got to take a little bit of a puff off your vape. But all that to be said, I was so nervous about doing this podcast today all by myself when I was putting all this pressure and expectations. Again, this is a word we're going to circle back around to a little bit later in the podcast. And I had this perspective that I was panicking on the inside, but a little bit of Kind Peoples, and here I am enjoying a wonderful time. You and me enjoying this conversation. I hope this back and forth, so to speak, wherever you're listening here. But again, before I know I'm giving you all these little preview teaser trailers before playing the actual movie of what this podcast is here, but I do want to just say I'm so thankful for this setup that Ryan has allowed here with Consuming Gravity playing in the background and his beautiful Music Man guitar right there, and right over here, Archeons. We actually have a brand new Jackson bass, which I'm super grateful for. Which I'm going to tell you a story about, some perspective about how I got that bass in the first place. But that bass right there is brand new. Super grateful for that. It's gonna have some good tone coming up on our new singles and tracks and things coming your way. But also Ryan has this great setup that allows me to go ahead and check over here. Look at our Facebook page right here, and all these other screen capture things. A little bit of previews of things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the power of perspective today. We're going to talk a little bit about your paradigms, and we're also going to dive into work-life balance. And these are some things that we put such hard expectations and perspectives that we have that are so grinding on these topics we're going to talk about. And as you can see here, this is Mental Health America. That's something we're also going to dive into a little bit today as well. But you know, just look at. I'm so thankful for Ryan for all this. But part of California as well, as we are. I am taking a mental health break and checking out all of this, giving myself and allowing myself the gift of being able to heal from some pains in my life right now. There is also some business aspects to me being out here as well. Really exciting things that I can't quite talk about yet. They're coming your way very soon. Don't you worry, fans. All that cool stuff. But I just want to take a moment to appreciate how far Archeons has come. As of right now, for those of you who are listening, maybe this is a backlog episode and you're checking out some of our backlog of content. Maybe this is many years in the future that you're checking it out, or you're looking us up on YouTube and you're like, wow, I can't believe that this huge, crazy band that took over the world, wink, wink, that we hope for, I can't believe that they started here, so to speak. But even looking at where we at right now, today is June 6th, 2019. As the date of recording. So I'm not sure where perhaps along the line you're watching this, what the date is now. But June 6th, 2019, you know, here we are on this Facebook page. I know that when we first got this going, you know, it looked okay, but it's growing and growing, and it's so exciting. You know, here we have on our post, we're consuming gravity, where what we do again have playing in the background on this TV here, just to provide you a little bit of visual stimulation there. Sorry, fans listening on the actual podcast, not on the video, but, you know, here's consuming gravity here. It's just, anyways, I suppose I should stop rambling because I forget that there is going to be people listening and not quite able to see all of this. But I hope you've enjoyed my rambling here. I suppose that with that, it's time to dive into what we're talking about today, and that is mental health. You know, Archeons, as we do try our very best, the best we can to push ourselves musically and physically, to try and make our bodies stronger, to try and make our music stronger, our finances stronger, our brotherhood stronger, everything that we try to do in Archeons. Part of that, we cannot, especially in the landscape that we have today, we can't forget about mental health. It's so... We live in a time right now where we're realizing more than ever that mental health is so important. I think, in my personal opinion, sorry, let me get some more water here, a little cotton mouth. Excuse me, much better. I think that because we live in such a fast-paced day and age with technology, and again, for those of you listening in the future, maybe you're a younger group of pups who is a fan base that has grown up with technology in your life from the very beginning. Maybe we're a little baby and we stuck a cell phone in your face. Who knows? But for a good portion of us, some of us have grown up where we've come into technology newer for us, and we're noticing all these issues and illnesses, truly illnesses, mental illnesses that are arising because maybe we have not taken the time to really understand the impact of what we've created here. And of course, that is part of what we talked about in A Forged Reality. Just quickly diving into what we're talking about today. We are talking about mental health. And as we were saying before, with how much stress that we put on ourselves with technology, it can be really hard to monitor how much that we take in and how much we allow ourselves to unplug and really kind of let our brains rest, let our bodies rest, let our minds rest. And I hope that wherever you are right now, however you're listening to this platform of media, that whether this is your form of mental rest or maybe you need one after this, please allow yourself the time to enjoy that very necessary break to unplug from time to time. But part of that mental health, what we are talking about is the power of perspective today. So if we scroll down here, I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff in bold here on this page, and then kind of talk a little bit about that between you and I. Your viewpoint, let's start at the beginning of it. The ability to reframe a situation is an important skill that can transform your life and our world. Today, take time to clear your lenses so you can view life from a higher perspective. Now, we can start even just with that right there. I got to tell you, as I was coming over on the plane ride, from Tennessee over here to California. When you rise above the clouds and you just see how big the world truly is, it makes you realize in perspective how small you are, but even small your problems are. Whatever you are going through right now and however hard it may be, just think about that for a moment. In the grand scheme of things, I know whatever it must be, it feels like it is the hardest thing, but I've definitely enjoyed some time with my friends and family to decompress and kind of gather my thoughts and kind of reform and reshape how I approach things and think about things. And just take a moment to think about that. If you look at life from a higher perspective, to just kind of clear your mind, that it allows you the ability to pick and choose where you want to take yourself. When you are high above the clouds, you see the whole world beneath you. It's almost like everything beneath you is possibility. Everything and anything is actually happening all at once right beneath your feet. And so that being said, I kind of want to talk to you about one thing I grew up with, and that's a phrase called the realm of possibility. Now, in the realm of possibility, anything is possible. Now, Tim, what is the realm of possibility? As we're talking about this one-on-one here, the realm of possibility is 5 seconds from now, it's an hour from now, it's 30 minutes from now, it's 2 days from now, it's 40 minutes, maybe less, all that stuff from now. Everything is possible. It all exists because everything and anything is happening all in this like chaotic thing of possibility that you can pick and choose your destiny. I was talking with a friend of mine recently, and we were going over what we wanted for our futures and going over what we wanted for life and just everything of that nature. And so I'm just trying to look up this little thing that I had mentioned, and it just provided such a wild perspective that the most important thing I think you can do in your life is choose your destiny. Because in the future, in that realm of possibility of what you can pick and choose who you want to be, pick your destiny and then grow into your destiny. And that's really, I think, the most powerful way you can change your perspective and choose who you want to be. Because in the future, you can be whoever you want to be. Pick your destiny. And the struggle is when you pick your destiny, maybe you say, I want to become a firefighter. Maybe you say, I want to become a teacher. Maybe you say you want to become the next metal band of the century. Whatever that is, there's going to be growing pains along the way. As you grow into that destiny, there are going to be pains. And so how do we deal and cope with that? How can we possibly learn to deal with the stuff that hurts us during that growing process? If we take a look back here at this screen, let's take a look here. Your viewpoint shapes your thoughts, decisions, actions, and ultimately your feelings of success. Out in Nashville, we're grinding so hard to try and make all of our dreams come true. All of the things we want to be and become and the people we want to be, we want to purposely walk into our destiny and grow into it. So your viewpoint shapes the thoughts, decisions, and actions. Ultimately, your viewpoint on life, it really kind of shapes who you want to become. If your viewpoint is that you want to live a safe life and that's what matters most to you, you're going to find a safe path no matter what that is. If your viewpoint is that you think X, Y, or Z should happen, these are your perspectives and your expectations, that's going to form the person that you end up becoming. So that's really important for you to consider. And if you are experiencing a challenging time right now, think about how you can shift your perspective. And that can be certainly difficult. I know that if we're talking to a younger demographic right now, but maybe the things that you can change is what is inside your mind. Perhaps maybe you struggle because maybe school. I know school when I was a kid, it was hard. There's so many things going on, and there's so much homework. There's stress between your friends, and everything seems so big. It's hard when you're a kid, and you don't have a whole lot of power in controlling maybe your home situation. But if you have a home to go home to, there are hard things, and I understand that for sure. But at least maybe what we can be thankful for is that there is a home. There's certainly some people out there, and I know that I went to high school with some people like that who they didn't even have a home. And it can be hard, especially when it's a difficult one, but try and think about some things at least that you can be grateful for. If that home is best, maybe you live in a home that's not the best, but it's in a beautiful city. Maybe there's a lot of things that you can do around you. Imagine, there are certainly some people who have a hard living situation and they live in the middle of nowhere. That's even more difficult. And if that is the case, maybe if that is the middle of nowhere, maybe you look up at the sky because there's no city around you and you can see the stars, and maybe that's something that you can be grateful for. So again, life is hard, and there's so many things that we're all going through for sure. And that's part of the human condition that we're going to talk about today, is that a lot of times we think we want to blame someone for something, or we want to think that people are a certain way, or put expectations and perspectives on people before we even know them and know what's going on in their shoes. But so often the human condition is really that all of us, most of us, are trying our best just to survive. There is a survival instinct within us. And it's interesting to think that even when someone maybe is doing something that just makes absolutely no sense to you in some ways, maybe for them, they're just doing what they think they need to do to survive. A lot of times, not always, I understand, but a lot of times people are trying to do their best. And so all that to say, we're at whatever you are, wherever you are, however you are, whenever you are, how old you are, whatever situation you're in, think about how you can shift your perspective on the things that challenge you. There are some action steps that this website, this article here gives, and I kind of like to go through it because I think it would be interesting to see what they have to say. Love to go on a banter here with you, but let's choose to take at least one action to make a difference in your life today. Here are some suggestions. Be a neutral observer. When a situation occurs, don't immediately judge it. Take a deep breath. Take yourself out of it. Try to see it from multiple angles. And that certainly is some real truth right there. Take an optimist viewpoint. Look for the opportunity in a seemingly bad situation. And these are some action steps, again, that you can take in making a difference in your life, is to take that optimistic viewpoint, because you have to be excited about the future to have an exciting future. If you aren't excited about what you're building, if you aren't excited about what you're trying to do, is it going to be exciting when you get there? It's a good question, I think. If you're not excited about what you could and can and may be, is it going to be exciting? So take an optimistic viewpoint. You can be anybody you want to be, anything you want. Be excited for that, because then you can have it. Deliberately test out a new perspective. The next time you're in a traffic jam, don't fret about wasted time. I know that's hard because I usually run late, but use it as a chance to meditate or do some isometric exercise. It's a funny website. But ultimately, in talking about perspectives here, I'm going to switch over to this next page where we're going to talk about a paradigm. So a paradigm is a philosophical and theoretical framework of a scientific school or discipline within which theories, laws, and generalizations and the experiments performed in support of them are formulated. All that to say again, sometimes you'll hear people say, change your paradigm. And that's your viewpoint of the world. It's really just a fancy way of saying your perspective. But a paradigm, the word itself to me, it just resonates with me. It was just, it opened my mind at a young age. I heard this word probably when I was about 12 years old, and it really resonated with me. So I definitely always love to bring that up, because maybe that'll mean something to someone out there for you as well. But in all of this, talking about life and how it's hard and difficult, I found myself in a hard situation, and that's why I'm enjoying a day out here with my family, getting some support and getting some reprieve from my mental health. What's interesting is while being with my family, I'm actually spending a lot of time with my grandmother, just because we have a lot of free time together. And it's interesting, today is June 6th, 2019, and June 6th, 2019 is actually the 75th anniversary of D-Day. And my grandmother had a brother who was on the beaches of Normandy in D-Day, and he actually is still here with us today. He's 95 years old. That man, goodness, he is a trooper for real. He is the real definition of trooper. To survive that and still make it to 95 and keep on trucking, that is very impressive. While I've been spending time with my family, it's been interesting for her to share her perspectives on life with me, that there are some people, like back in that time during World War II, that it was so scary, everything that was going on. It was so incredibly terrifying. It's just amazing for those of us who live, whether it's in the United States or the United Kingdom, or, a place of at least some modern day form of wealth. How grateful can we be that situation where we owe the greatest generation at least a debt to them and saying thank you for doing everything you could to protect us. Thank you for serving, and thank you for what you provided for us. So that's something that we can definitely be thankful for with D-Day. In perspective with the Greatest Generation, with June 6, 2019 being the 75th anniversary of that. So while I had spent time with my grandmother, I spent time with my mother and my stepfather, and we also were talking about perspective and things like that. We were kind of going back and forth talking about the baby boomers and talking about the millennials and how we have certain struggles that they didn't have, and they had certain advantages that we didn't have. And I noticed that I was creating this perspective that I was noticing. I've heard many millennials take this stance, but it was like a chip on my shoulder. That was to say, almost like a resentment towards baby boomers for having quote unquote easier time than we did. But part of what we're going to talk about a little bit here is she mentioned to me the human condition is realizing that everybody has struggle. Everybody does. Everybody goes through something. Everybody has something that's painful and that they're working through. And I think from the way that she said it, that really it just kind of struck home to me is that whatever struggles the millennial generation is going through, it's almost like a rebranding of struggle. That every generation has struggle. They're just different struggles. And that's part of growing as even just as a human species, that we're all growing and learning and pushing towards new endeavors and creating new things. And sometimes those things that we create aren't good. Sometimes those things we create are good. Sometimes they're not. It's a rebranding of almost to think that whatever advantages and disadvantages there are, each generation has a certain form of struggle. And each person, each human condition has a form of struggle. It's wild to me to think that it's taken so long, and it will take longer still to get to a point where people will truly have equal opportunity and true diversity will truly be represented, and that people can feel truly included in every walk of life because of the inability sometimes to accept others. It's just wild that is even an issue. But we have to be thankful for what we have, and that's part of being in a state of gratitude with perspective here. But I have to say, being out here in California compared to Tennessee, that's one thing I have to be so grateful for. The air, just wonderful. Nashville is a little bit hot and muggy, a little bit sticky right now. And California, the air is nice and clean and refreshing, and the ocean is out here, and you can hear it at night. And the food is delicious, and there's so many things to do. But then I thought to myself, I was like, all of this is wonderful, but right, it's like we always, sometimes our perspective is to add a but to things instead of just being grateful for what it is. I thought to myself, well, the music scene is just not the same as Nashville out here, at least in this part of the Bay Area that I'm in, the Central Coast. It just made me think to myself, I was like, there's beauty to be found in pretty much every place that you go. You can always find beauty somewhere. In Nashville, it's Music City. It's just wonderful. It's a great time. And that's something that this part of California, as beautiful and wonderful as it is, something it's missing. And you can just be grateful. Try and find something to be grateful wherever you are today, right now. Now, I would love to record a lot more on today's podcast and tell you about so many more things. And I'm going to try and give you a little more content here. But I just want to say, number one, try and go over some things here. If you are looking at this on a backlog of content, thank you for taking the time to look at where we are here. It's a matter of perspective to see where Archeons is in 2019. It'll be great to see where it is in 2044. But even from 2017 to 2019, to go from where it was to even where it is right now, to having this here and being able again to have this wonderful place available to us, and all of the things we're working on, it's something that we're grateful for, and we are grateful for you, the fans. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being interested, and thank you for your ear and your time and support. I hope that we can do everything in our power to give you a wonderful content experience, no matter what we do, what we provide, what we make, all that. But here we are talking about the future of the podcast. What we want to do is not just have Archeons be solely focused on just ourselves, but we want to do everything we can and not give back to just you, but to the community as well, to the larger metal scene as a whole, and also to Nashville as a city, knowing what our roots are there in Nashville. So we want to be able to try and interview some other local artists who are out there. I do want to extend the invite to you right now, the fans, that if you have any local artists in Nashville right now that you are just loving their content and you think that Archeons just needs to know about it right now, please let us know in the comments down below. Please let us know if there's anyone you'd like us to connect with and who you'd like to see us interview next. And that's the whole the whole goal of the podcast going forward, is not just talking about Archeons related topics, but we want to also be able to shed light on those other artists who are striving for their dreams as well and who are doing everything they can to get to their next level and to get to their next step in life. That's part of what we want to do, is support that. Also moving forward, we are going to try and continue our comedy series as well on YouTube. You can definitely check that out. Feel free to go through that backlog of content. It's going to be wild to see if, this isn't a time like 2044, if you for some reason are listening to some of our oldest podcasts at that point. It'll be crazy to see how our comedy series started and how it really began, and how corny it was at the beginning, and I'm sure how it's going to end up in the future. So thank you again for checking that out. That is something to think about. We are going to work on some more singles and some more music coming your way. We're hoping for a lot more shows coming to you as well. We are going to be working on our live performance, and we are going to be working on some choreography, some really cool stuff that we hope is going to be entertaining for you. And with the podcast, please feel free, if you have any other topics that you think that we should be talking about here on the Archeons podcast, besides just music, besides just talking about other musicians in the area and other things that you're excited about, let us know. If you think besides mental health, as we try and grow and strengthen, I'm just going to shed a little bit of light at the boys here. It's like, just being buff, we're trying to get them gains in every area of life, not just physical, not just mental, but, in our souls as well. Everything we try and do. If there's a topic that you think that we should cover, please let us know in the comments down below. Please let us know if you think that there's something that we should talk about. Anything from mental health to the ocean to the environment. We want this to be a platform that not just builds a community and a family for you to feel like you can enjoy fun content, but at least you can feel like there's a group of guys who are grinding to try and do their part as musicians as much as we can to try and help the world as best we can. Maybe one day when we find ourselves in a position of some authority of power, so to speak, of some money, and a position of significance out there on a platform, we want to do what we can to try and help the world around us, and more so than just music, and in our hopes and dreams as well. So please let us know down below if there's anything you think we should do there. And speaking about our YouTube comedy series as well, let us know about that, and talking about our shows. If there are any fans in the surrounding areas who are just itching to see us play a live show and we are unaware to finding you quite yet, please let us know about your hometown. Let us know about where you think it would be a killer time to play a show, maybe a venue that we haven't heard of quite yet. We would love to see you soon and live in person. And as we are about to get to the end of this podcast here, we do have some more online content coming your way. The next podcast will be coming at you. And hopefully maybe I'll try and see if either we can do one like this or might be one with the boys. But in either case, your boy Timbo Slice is going to be here, and he will be live for you as always with the Archeons Archive. Signing out for you, friends. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. Much love to you. Remember, keep shredding and keep going for those dreams. Keep striving forward. See you next time. Peace.